So, I just watched the stream between Bering, Kraut and Tea, Vegan Gains, and Jack the Vegan. It was very entertaining, albeit sometimes frustrating to watch, and a lot of good points were made. I just wanted to bring some of my personal counter-arguments that I would have made to Vegan Gains in particular during the stream. Because I may be stroking my own cock, but I feel I may have a bit of insight into some of these matters just given my line of study. I apologize in advance because I feel this is probably going to be a long video, but I'll try and just stick to the main points that I feel need to be addressed. So, let's get into it.
The diet we've evolved to eat is a herbivorous diet.
Please provide a citation for that. To my knowledge, humans have never physiologically or culturally evolved to sustain an entirely herbivorous diet. Humans have incredibly developed digestive tracts so that we can utilize almost any energy source. If we evolved to be herbivorous, humans would not be able to digest animal protein or fat. We have the capability to be herbivorous if you do it right, but that is entirely different.
And because of that, because we live in modern Western society and we have the luxury of modern agriculture, it's completely unnecessary and therefore unethical to raise and kill animals for food.
Credit where it's due. I'm happy that you at least recognize certain parts of the world simply cannot go vegan, mainly for resource supply and demand reasons.
What I've seen you do, like Bering do, especially each time he makes a response to me, he will make an argument and then it's as if you realize that argument isn't valid or something, and then you just fall back on, I don't care.
This was constantly brought up in the video and went round and around in circles for a long time, so I'll address it now. How I see it, and Bering pointed this out multiple times, Vegan Gains and Jack the Vegan were the ones who came looking for a debate. But for a true debate, especially an ethical one, to really take place, there has to be an almost equal balance of personal investment in the argument. And given, there were aspects of this discussion and certain topics that Kraut and Bering did really care about. When it came down to the core of the debate, they did not have enough personal investment. They just honestly didn't care. And that is a completely valid position to have. Vegan Gains was constantly fighting a one-sided debate and just couldn't understand that. He was looking for a type of opposition that just was not there. He kept saying, "You're not having a debate." And Bering and Kraut agreed, "Yeah, we're not." It seems Vegan Gains just did not understand that someone can have a non-opinion surrounding a topic. He kept saying it was their fallback. It was not their fallback, it was their honest opinion.
No, like, what I'd like you to just admit is you don't really care and you like the taste of meat. Like, you always...
I don't really care and I like the taste of meat. But that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Again, he openly agrees with you, Richard, but you still found ways to try and make an ethical argument, even though at the very beginning of the video, they clearly stated they did not have an ethical opinion surrounding the topic. I just honestly didn't understand that.
Like, that's the funny thing that I thought about your response, Bering. I got to the point where you started talking about how I was abusing my dog, and first of all, whatever.
It was pretty average, man. It was pretty average. Like, that's a wolf dog. It's not a vegan. It's just not a vegan.
Well, obviously a dog can't be vegan because it doesn't have moral agency, but
No. Physically, it can't be vegan. It just can't.
Well, no, it can. Purina makes Purina. Do you know of the dog brand Purina? They make a vegan dog food.
I have to say, hearing this on Bering's most recent video response to you made me infuriated. In fact, I wanted to make an entire video on the topic, so this is gonna be a little bit ranty. Though, I think I may have figured out the issue. You constantly humanize and personify animals, even though you yourself have stated that humans are superior to animals. I feel you extend more humanity to animals than to humans, to the point that you think you can treat them like a human and feed them the same diet as you, irrespective of their physiology or biology. It's either that or it comes down to pure ignorance or stupidity. So, from the knowledge at my disposal, let me set some things straight. Humans are one of the only animals on the planet that can drastically change our diet without a great deal of health issues, provided that you at least have a basic understanding of nutrition and know what you're doing. We are incredible generalists when it comes to our diet, which is one of the things that helped us be so successful as a species. On the other hand, though wolves and wild dogs are carnivores, domesticated dogs are, technically speaking, basic omnivores. They can digest a small amount of starch and plant material, but not copious amounts, and they definitely cannot sustain an entire diet based on it. They need animal protein in their diet to have a healthy gastrointestinal tract. And what's even more infuriating is that you state Purina has a vegan dog food line to justify your actions. But Purina themselves state dogs are not meant to be vegan, and if they are, it is because of a medical reason. The Purina website clearly states that if it is not formulated properly, vegan and vegetarian diets can be very dangerous, and that the diet needs to be formulated by a veterinary nutritionist specifically for that dog. I do pride myself in being calm and respectful when making counter-arguments, but honestly, you can go fuck yourself on this one, mate. Your dog had malnutrition and became emaciated from you feeding her a diet because she was not meant to be on it. Whether you did so under misguided ignorance or not, you abused that dog. And you make the point, so killing animals is okay, but feeding my dog a vegan diet isn't. There's a huge difference here, because the dog is under your sole responsibility and care. It is your moral and legal responsibility to provide for that dog, and you are, either ignorantly or willingly, causing harm to that dog. That is a difference, and that is abuse.
You're not doing a great job of defending this. It's like, I like the taste of meat. Oh, I like dogs. They're allowed to live. Pigs, cows, chickens. Nah, dead.
This argument was also brought up a lot. At one point, they gave the situation of, if you have a pig, a dog, and a human in front of you, which one do you shoot? And something that was briefly brought up, but I think needed a much bigger highlight, in fact I was screaming it in the chat, was that it was purely down to cultural differences. That is all. For example, to my knowledge, many areas in India do not eat cows because they see the animal as sacred, and many look down on us for doing so because of this belief. Meanwhile, we have co-evolved alongside dogs. They're a huge part of our society at this point. We have molded them, and they have molded us. And we can build very deep emotional companionship bonds with them. But that is only really intrinsic in Western cultures. This is why certain parts of the world eat dogs, as Kraut stated. It is purely down to how the culture developed. So saying that we individually have arbitrarily given different animals intrinsic value is bullshit. We are part of a culture where we have companion animals and production animals. That is what it comes down to.
Slaughtering a pig is probably the more, because a pig actually you have to trick a chicken. You can just grab it by the legs, put it on the block, and cut its head off and be done with it. A pig, you have to trick a pig into getting killed, because as soon as the pig notices that something is off, pigs are really smart animals. So there's probably a little more to that. That was a little more disturbing, I guess, in that sense.
This I will give vegan gains. I think a huge part of intrinsic value that I personally give to animals is based on their intelligence and self-awareness, which pigs have demonstrated to have in spades. So I do have a problem with how a lot of pigs are kept and farmed.
I do care, for example, about the environmental damage that is being done, especially by cattle farming.
Right.
I'll admit to that bluntly.
Here is another point that I agree on. Simply due to the immense demand of meat, a huge part of our land is dedicated to farming, and having that many animals in agriculture has a big environmental impact. But I see a potential solution here that Vegan Gains just doesn't seem to agree with. The environmental issues, and even a lot of the health issues Vegan Gains continually brings up, is not due to the sole act of eating meat, but the overconsumption of meat. This is going a bit off topic from the original point, but meat is, generally speaking, a big part of a healthy, balanced diet. Issues begin to crop up when people eat too much meat. And I'll be blunt and say that a huge majority of people in Western cultures do eat too much meat. What I think we should be doing to try and fix this is we should be lowering the amount of meat we consume, and we can do so easily, as Bering said, by raising the price of meat. This will be the most effective way to lower the demand, not only making people healthier, but reducing the impact on the environment, as well as leaving more land for the animals or even for crops. Not only that, it will potentially bring more money into the agricultural industry to try and help better their practices, facilities, and welfare for the animals.
I have a goal, like animal abolition. I'm not in support of welfarism. I'm not in support of, yeah, it's fine to kill animals just as long as you do it nice-like. I'm not going to pat anyone on the back for doing that.
And that, right there, is what makes you an extremist, Richard. You don't care if people make an effort. You don't care if the industry takes strides in animal welfare. You just want the whole practice to be abolished and nothing else. As soon as anyone looks at an ethical issue in black and white, they are an extremist. And this is why you will never make a true impact. A little while ago, I had a very good chat with one of my professors at my first university who actually helped write the most recent Animal Welfare Act for New Zealand. One thing they said that always stood out to me is animal rights activists will always claim that they are never invited to the meetings surrounding this type of legislation and that their concerns are never heard. And they're not, because they don't compromise. When you need to work with other people, particularly when you have an extreme view, you need to be able to compromise. If you can't compromise, you can't play the game. It's as simple as that. As Bering said, baby steps. What's even funnier is that later in the video, you say to Kraut,
So, because you can't end all suffering, therefore, it's justifiable to cause needless suffering in the animal agriculture industry.
when that is exactly what you said previously. You don't care about improving welfare because it's apparently all a lie and it's impossible to stop them suffering in a farming system. I found that wildly hypocritical. To reiterate your extremism, at one point in the video, you try and argue that any mistreatment of animals is objectively morally wrong. Kraut and Bering kept telling you that that is your ethics, that that is your viewpoint, and you kept claiming that it is objectively wrong. You are so staunch and blinded by your views that you cannot fathom anyone thinking any other way, and that is both hilarious and terrifying. No ethics are objective. Everyone's ethics are different. It obviously doesn't excuse you from consequences like you guys discussed in the stream. As Kraut said, there is a certain baseline of ethics that are held in special social consideration, but beyond that, no one's morals are right or wrong. You can show them why you disagree with their stance, but you can't intellectually tell them objectively that what they ethically believe is wrong. And that's the end of the points from the stream that I'm going to go over. But finally, I just want to pose some questions to Vegan Gains, and even Jack the Vegan if he wishes to answer them, as I've never really seen them discuss these. First, do you recognize that there are people in the first world who cannot go vegan for a multitude of reasons? For example, medical conditions. And trust me, there are people like this, as I am one of them, which is another reason I've done a bit more research than the average person regarding nutrition. One of the only things my body can really digest properly is animal protein. If I went onto a vegan diet, it could potentially kill me. There are even reasons beyond medical issues that could prevent someone from being vegan, but I don't really want to lengthen the video anymore, and I may just make a video dedicated to veganism in general. Basically, are those people who have legitimate reasons for not being vegan just as bad as the people who are rich, healthy, and still choose to eat meat? Next, I know Jack the Vegan did go over his stance on this, but the Vegan Gains, I'm interested in your view on someone who keeps their own animals, maybe 2 or 3 sheep, raises them with love, takes care of them, gives them a good life, and slaughters them themselves. Do you feel that is any morally better than someone who buys meat from a supermarket? And finally, Vegan Gains stated very clearly that he believes that humane killing is an oxymoron. So, how do you feel about euthanizing or putting down companion animals? As it is still technically the killing of a sentient animal, and I wanted to know your thoughts on this. So, if anyone is still watching, I have sent this video to Bering to show my interest in this debate, and to let him know that I'm available if they're looking for anyone else to join in on the next one, if there is a next one. Well, that's all for this one. I'll catch you guys next time.